Underage drinking, fights, medical emergencies, and traffic accidents. These are just a few of the situations that can arise when a lot of people get together at the same place and the same time for a special event. Stadium security today on Star Points. Hello everyone, welcome to Star Points. I'm Lonnie Wilder. You know, ball games and special events are supposed to be fun, and while they usually are enjoyable, an occasional drunk fan, a traffic accident, or even a medical emergency can put a damper on things. Well, today on Star Points, Lieutenant Gary Klugowitz of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department will take us to the home of the Milwaukee Brewers to give us some insight into stadium security. Now, he'll begin by showing us important steps you should take hours before a special event begins. And then he'll go inside the stadium for some tips on keeping the peace there. Now, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Gary, take us out to the ball game.
Although the Milwaukee Brewer organization starts much earlier preparing for a ball game, the Milwaukee Sheriff's Department really gets there about 2 hours before game time. What they do is they come in 2 hours before and start with traffic control from the freeways onto the parking lots in Milwaukee County Stadium. They actually work on setting up the command post and getting an early mobile post to see if everything's okay in the parking lots. They have a police presence there. Once we have this police presence established, this mobile post, once they make the initial tour, starts working on underage alcohol. We're death on underage drinking in Milwaukee County. Under 18 is illegal for a juvenile to do it, but when it was Wisconsin, it's also up to 21. So anyone under 21 cannot drink. So therefore, we enforce this heavily. About an hour and a half before game time, we have another post comes in, and this post deals with the whole issue of dealing with scalping. It's illegal to sell anything on county property, so therefore we heavily enforce scalping. As well as an hour and a half, we have the cycle units come in. We have cycle units come in terms of dealing with the traffic control within the parking lots. The cycles is much easier to get through that way than it is with a larger cart, such as a squad car. So we deal with the cycle units itself. We also, at this time, start moving around looking for more underage drinkers and setting up the command post itself and getting ready to go. We're in constant communication with the Brewer organization. We have something called Team Brewers here. We work together, the Brewer organization and Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department, and we work together so that we have good communications. We have a radio system, not only our own through our dispatcher, but also through the Brewer organization dispatcher. So we have a lot of communication going on. So if there's a medical emergency, if there's a disturbance, if there's anything happening, we're in tune with it because we have good communications. Once, in fact, we get close to the game time, we actually get posts that actually develop what we call pedestrian patrol, where we actually have traffic patrol for pedestrians, where we make sure that there's no accidents when we have the vehicles coming into the parking lot, as well as having the pedestrians trying to get in from remote parking locations or from bus stops. So pedestrian patrol becomes important. Once we have game time right at about 7 o'clock for an evening game, we have the national anthem, and while that's going on, we're having our own roll call. Roll call is important because a lot of people, because we rotate the assignments out here, it's an overtime assignment at the stadium. They're on duty, but it's an overtime assignment. We rotate this, and so a lot of times we don't get people here every day, and so we have to go over certain roll call items that are important that they understand in terms of dealing with working at the stadium per se. During the game itself, we have a lot of roving posts where very simply they go through the stadium and they walk through it. They're very much preventive patrol, and also we're there available with the Brewer radio to respond to locations where there's a problem. We have a great deal of problems with lost children, as you might imagine, having all these people in here and the kids running around. So we find lost children. We have a lot of medical emergencies that go down because people are sick and they have medical problems while at the stadium. We have a certain amount of disturbances, much less than before, because very simply we deal with the whole issue with a great deal of communication skills. Courtesy and civility is our number one priority. Our sheriff is very much stresses the need for this, for courtesy and civility. And so we stress this location, at this location as well, the courtesy and civility. When we do these roving posts, we simply walk through it. During the stadium time itself, we also have a money room that we cover. We also have money runs that we make, an armed escort service up until the end of the game, and then through Major League rules, we have to deal with the whole issue of the umpire escort. We have to get them off the field, so if there's any bad feelings between them and the baseball teams, that's dealt with. After the game is over, we do everything in reverse. We really have the same issues of dealing with the pedestrian patrol, where we have to do the crosswalks. We have the traffic control onto the freeway itself. We deal with the fact that we have the people leaving the stadium. We make sure the stadium's secure, and eventually it's over, and we complete our assignment. We close up the CP.
So once again, policing a special event like a ball game begins hours before the event gets underway and continues long after it ends. Now let's review what Gary said about preparing for a stadium event. Number 1, arrive at least 2 hours prior to the game. 2, patrol the traffic coming into the stadium from the freeways. 3, set up your command post. 4, establish an early mobile post. 5, patrol the parking lot. One of the things you are looking for is underage drinkers. 6, watch for scalping. 7, consider using motorcycles for parking lot control. 8, maintain communications with stadium officials at all times. Number 9, patrol pedestrians and make sure they get into the stadium safely. 10, hold a roll call prior to the game to make sure everyone knows what they are responsible for during the game. 11, establish roving posts during the game. 12, use radio for communication. 13, and finally here, make courtesy and civility a number 1 priority. It's good advice. And now, once you arrive at the stadium, you will want to have several units dedicated to patrolling the parking lot. What exactly are you looking for? Take a look. Baseball games are for people of all ages, and so are ball game refreshments, with one exception. If you're not old enough, you're not allowed to drink alcoholic beverages, inside or outside the stadium. That's one of the major concerns for Milwaukee sheriffs who patrol the parking lot. It seems the BYOB approach to drinking is especially popular with underage drinkers, like Dan, a 20-year-old from the neighboring state of Illinois.
You know, you can't drink in the state of Wisconsin when you're 20 years old. You know what the drinking age is?
I'm not sure. What is it?
It's 21 in Wisconsin, Dan. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you in. We're going to write you a citation for underage drinking. Okay? We'll let you come back out here if you're decent. I mean, this is all the right information. If I run this on my computer, is it going to show you got a driver's license in Illinois? Okay. Don't be so nervous.
Dan is nervous because moments earlier, when asked to see identification, he claimed to have forgotten his wallet. But upon further investigation, the wallet was found, with not 1, but 2 IDs inside.
You got one in Arizona, too?
That's an ID card.
Okay, this is the fake one. If you would have shown,
I didn't want to. I was going to show
if you would have shown me the fake ID card, you would have slapped yourself with another citation. You did the right thing. I'm taking the fake ID card. It's just best to tell us the truth. You know, I mean, it doesn't pay to lie.
Dan didn't get ticketed for the fake ID because he didn't try to use it, but he was caught drinking an alcoholic beverage, and that cost him.
Generally, we request the person to post that $153 if they're from out of state. But if you don't pay the fine or appear in court on the court date, a warrant will be issued for your arrest here in Wisconsin, and if you ever come up here to visit again, and should that still be open, you could be subject to be arrested, held in jail to go to court. You're close enough to 21, don't try to use this. That doesn't work, all right? Now, you're out of the ballpark, but if you have a ticket, you can come back in.
Okay.
But whatever you do, young man, don't be drinking here anymore tonight at our ballpark, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Come on, Dan. I'll show you where you're going to go.
And for every Dan, there are probably hundreds more underage drinkers just like him in the parking lot. They just haven't been caught yet.
What's happening, guys? Are we all of age here? Got IDs I can see?
Now, coming up, Lieutenant Klugowitz will take us inside the stadium with some tips for handling an out-of-control fan, and he'll also have some advice on how to keep from getting popped. Stay with us to find out more.
I'm Bernie Tesmer, a fan of the Milwaukee Brewers and a season ticket holder, and additionally, I'm the department administrator for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department, the department that provides security for all Milwaukee Brewer games at County Stadium. We have a unique feature here in which the Milwaukee Brewers, through a joint venture, shares the expenses of our security with Milwaukee County government, which is approximately $350,000 a year. Security at Brewer games starts way before the game and the gates open and goes way past when the game concludes.
You hear a lot of talk these days about growth companies and the explosive world of communications. Consider the one communications company that has expanded from industry to industry since 1986, creating business television history by providing excellence in training, information, and continuing education through these entities. When you put them all together, it's easy to see Westcott Communications, traded on NASDAQ.
And now it's about time for the game to begin. Let's go inside the stadium and find out how Gary recommends dealing with an out-of-control fan.
At Milwaukee County Stadium, like any large public gathering, there are times when people have had too much to drink. There are times when they're just getting out of hand, when they start to interfere with other people's having fun. And at that point in time, you have to do something. These problems usually come to our attention by the Brewer staff, by the ushers. They bring it to our attention and they call us and they say, we have a problem with a spectator in a certain part of the stadium. We have to respond to this location. Now let me explain to you how we deal with this conflict resolution, if you will. Many times our mere presence in an area slows it down. We walk into an area, that's enough. It's over. There's no more problem. A lot of times we have to walk by and just talk to the person and just, say, what's the problem? Is there any problem here? At some point in time, we might even have to give them a warning. Look, if there's any more problems, we're going to have to deal with this, and you might be ejected from the game, so just take it easy. But we have to do something. If it gets worse, though, we talk to the person. We might want to take them out of it and escort them out of the area. We don't like to hold court in public. We like to take them into the area, take them down out of the public eye, and talk to them there. At that point in time, we'd do an FI, a field interview. We'd get some information on them, check their ID, see who they say they are, and we then continue on. We might want to run a warrant check at this time. At this point in time, they may still get back in the stadium because remember, this is a public relation venture. We want to take it easy. We want people to have fun. We don't want to arrest anybody. We just want to have everyone to have a good time and not interfere with anyone else having a good time. But at some point in time, we have to go on beyond this, and we have to take them out, and we may eject them from the stadium. We eject them, and they're out for the night. At some point in time, they might receive a citation. At some point in time, they might even be placed on a summary arrest and be taken down to jail. It all depends on their behavior. Many people, the people who end up on a summary arrest are the ones that fight with us, and it happens on occasion. Not very rarely in current times, but they have in the past have resisted. Most of the time, though, you just walk them out, you talk to them, and you eject them from the game, maybe citing them. Let's see how this looks. And again, in a given situation, we come upon a scene. Someone's been loud, boisterous, spilling beer, maybe swearing in front of children. And although the game is just starting, we in fact have see the scenario. Okay.
Oh, you got an arm like a girl.
Excuse me, sir.
Little league.
Sir,
You gotta do it. You can play some real games here. Play some real games. Leave me alone. I ain't bothering nobody. Leave me alone.
Now in this situation,
I ain't bothering anybody.
you'll
Take
see
your hands off me. I ain't
that they're moving in him and they're bracketing him.
Leave me alone.
Obviously, the subject is
I don't care,
inebriated.
I paid a ticket to sit here, and I'm going to be loud about it. You don't like what I have to say. I had freedom of speech. Don't be bothering me.
Why don't we go
Freedom of speech. Leave me alone. No, I ain't going anywhere. You leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't care about anybody's complaint. I paid to be here too. I don't need to say anymore. I don't need. Oh, get an arm. Get an arm. Don't pay any attention. Yeah, get an arm. You hit like a. Go down to Little League.
Yes, sir.
Go down to Little League. I told you to leave me alone. I told you to leave me alone. You leave me alone. I'm here. I paid my ticket to be here. Leave me alone. I don't care about your nicely. Leave me alone. Somebody bring me another beer. Leave me alone. You ain't moving me anywhere. Leave me alone.
I ask you again, sir.
Leave me alone.
Let's go talk about this nicely.
No, sir. Leave me alone. I paid money to be here. Leave me alone.
That's why let's go.
Get an arm. Get an arm. Oh, you swing like a girl. Swing like a girl. Little League practice out here.
Sir. Come on.
I paid to be here. We don't need this. I paid to be here. This is an injustice.
Watch where you're going here.
This is an injustice. Get an arm. Get an arm.
I want you to look at their tactics, and I think this is very consistent with what we do out here. Remember, we talked about the first responder philosophy. We arrive, assess, we gave an alarm, they called for additional officers. They then, in fact, evaluated, they moved in, they entered, and they tried to stabilize the situation. They tried to stabilize it, first of all, by just talking to the person. That wasn't working. Eventually, they had to go on. You notice the way they bracketed the subject. They got between them. These stadium seats can be very dangerous spots. Let's take a look at these stadium seats. This can be a very dangerous spot to be after wrestling with someone in. You notice the way they got on either side of them. They moved on either side of them so they could bracket them in between them. By doing that, they prevent problems because they could get both sides at once. They could control both arms. You also have to look at the fact the way they talk to them. They talk to them and they talk to them and they talk to them until it was obvious it wouldn't work. They're doing this for a couple of reasons. One is they're trying to talk them out because that's the easy way. But also they're setting themselves up for defending their actions later, for justifying their actions by the way they set themselves up. They bracket them, they move them out, and I want you to realize one thing. In a stadium such as this, with people all around them, you have to always be watching your back, and by bracketing the person, you in fact protect each other's back all the time to get them out of that location. Very realistic and a very good way of dealing with the problem. They walk them out by passively escorting him versus having to wrestle with him in this situation.
Well, now let's review Gary's pointers for handling an out-of-control fan at a stadium. You may have to do one or more of the following. Number one, walk by the fan. That is, simply make your presence known. This may be all you have to do to resolve the problem. Second, issue a verbal warning. If just making your presence known is not enough, this is step number 2. 3, escort the fan out of the stadium. 4, perform a field interview. 5, if none of the former tactics have worked, you may have to eject the person from the stadium. 6, issue a citation. 7, and finally, if all else fails, make an arrest. And now we're going to do something that we don't do very often on LETN, and that is show you what not to do. Gary says a lack of courtesy and respect for others could raise their pop index, and in turn, you could get popped. Now here's Lieutenant Gary Klugowitz to explain.
Do you ever wonder why some officers can walk up to a person and talk to them and there's never a problem, while another officer can walk up to the same person and immediately a war breaks out? Do you ever ask yourself why this happens? Well, very simply, there exists a pop index. POP, how to piss off people and get popped. There's an index of things we do that sets people off. And this is a problem for 2 reasons. One, it can get you hurt because you can actually start a fight to get you hurt. And secondly, when it's all over, when the Office of Professional Standards looked at you, when Internal Affairs looked at you, they can say you in fact behaved in a fashion that was unprofessional. Let's look at some of these pop index. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk in this situation. The subject is going to walk up to me and ask me for directions. I want you to watch my facial expressions. Sir? Ask me for directions.
Park my car out here and I want to walk into the gate, but which direction do I go?
Have I already started to piss this guy off? Just my facial expressions. Now he's getting angry. We always like to take blood pressures here. Where am I coming from? I'm supposed to be a public servant, and yet I can't answer a simple question, and I give him this facial expressions. Let's look at another situation. Let's see my attitude. I want you to ask me for directions again. Ask me where the bathroom is.
Where's the restroom at, sir? I've never been down here before.
Look, man, it's big as life, right over there. What's your problem?
I just want to go to the restroom. That's all I want to do is use the restroom.
Now, the problem here is that, yeah, I've been out in the sun all day. I don't need this. I mean, the sign's right there. But this person hasn't done anything to me, and yet now I've offended this person. I've created a problem. I've started an internal affairs investigation, perhaps, because of lack of courtesy and respect for this individual. But we can go beyond this. We can actually get physical in here. Let's look at another situation where, in fact, I start to crowd this person. Let's watch this.
Just looking for the rescue.
No.
Just looking for the rescue.
Now, two people get this close. Someone who I want to be intimate with and someone I'm going to fight with. And I'm crowding this person, I'm setting him off. Crowding is a big problem. Then we add to that parental finger. Buddy, I told you to move. Now, he's thinking, I want to break this finger off and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. You ain't my mama. You ain't my papa. Get out of my face. And who's starting this? And how does this look to my public who's always there, the audience? And then we put it all together. We put it all together and we put together the crowding, the parental finger with inappropriate touching. Now watch this. Now be gentle, okay? I said move. Now I want you to watch his facial expression. You see the eyes glaze over. You see him get a little bit red here. Now he's pissed off. And who's done it? I have. Let me ask you a question. First of all, do I want to piss off somebody this big? The answer is no. Secondly, what is the audience going to say about me? Who's starting this confrontation? The battle is going to break out. Who started it? And, you know, even more importantly here, what is it called when you touch without permission or authority? It's called an assault. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get an assault charge from this, but I'm saying you caused this, and if it goes down, this can really impact on whether what you did was justified or not. From here, we start getting into language. First of all, we're going to get into profanities. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that you understand if I say to you, if you don't get out of here, I'm going to kick your motherfucking ass. Now, I'm sure you understand those words. You understand those words. But the problem is this, is that can you use those words? Can your sergeant say you can use those words? Can your sheriff or police chief say it? Can, in fact, the judge say you can say it? No, we can empathize with you. We can say, yeah, we understand why you got angry, but we can't say it's okay. Profanities are a big problem. And finally, we have to deal with the whole issue here of the buzzwords. The buzzwords that go down in terms of saying something like, you faggot. Now, those are fighting words. Or I get racial, no matter what it is. He's a nigger, he's a spick. I get religious, you know, whatever it is. He's a kite. Whatever verb I want to use. Now we're fighting. We have a major problem here because I've started this. And very simply, although it's never been run its full course, plaintiff attorneys will keep pushing the fact of who caused this confrontation by using those buzzwords. And finally, we have that verbal parting shot. After it's all over, this is what we get. Okay? Have a nice day. After a very negative experience, we tell the person, have a nice day. Can that person let me walk away? The answer is no. He can't let me walk away. He has to say something to me, and then now it's on again. The battle's on, and who caused it? I did. So very simply, remember that pop index. It's unprofessional. We should never use it. It can get ourselves hurt by doing it, and get us beat up, and also when it's all over, we can get into a jam because we caused the problem.
Nobody sets up a scenario like Gary Klugowitz, and remember the main point here, you can diffuse a potential situation just in your attitude. Remember that. And now, here's Gary with a review of today's program.
I hope you've seen that when you work a special event like a Brewer baseball game at Milwaukee County Stadium, it's quite an extensive affair. It begins way before the show actually starts, before the game. It begins with coming in, getting the traffic off the freeway into the parking lots. You have to continue with actually getting them into the parking lots and patrolling those parking lots. You get mobile squads out there to watch what's happening. You see that everyone's safe. You make sure everything's okay. You have to start setting up a command post. And once you set up this command post, you have to start coordinating activities of different groups involved in this type of scheduled event. Once this has happened, you in fact begin the game. With the game, you patrol. You patrol, you make sure there's no problems during a game. You have many special problems that exist in any ball game. You have the different medical emergencies that exist, the different disturbances that can actually happen, and you have to deal with this. During any game like this, an event like this, when you have thousands of people together, you are going to have problems and you have to deal with it. I hope in this edition of Star Points, you are going to be able to see just what it takes to put on a ball game like this, what it takes to provide security here. And remember that these are all sworn officers providing security at a baseball game, and we hope you enjoyed. Just stay with us.
Well, we'd like to thank Lieutenant Gary Klugowitz and his team for helping us do this program today. That concludes this edition of Star Points. Don't go away. There's more great information still ahead on LETN.